Oh, sorry about that. And we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintrow. How you doing this week, Seth?
I'm good. It's gonna be a good one, I think.
Yeah, I hope you're ready because we have a ton of news this week. We're gonna, as usual, jump in a bunch of Tesla, but there's a bunch of other non-Tesla news this week because of the mainly because of the Shanghai Motor Show that happened. It's Shanghai, especially for the EVs now that China is such an important market for electric vehicles. It has become one of the major shows to unveil your new vehicles. And previously, it was not as exciting for us at Electrek. Like we do have a few Chinese followers, and that's nice. But a lot of the EVs that other automakers were releasing were just for the Chinese market. Not so true anymore. A lot of the EVs that were released in the Shanghai Motor Show or in the margin of the show are going to make it to the global stage and hopefully in the North American market relatively soon. So we're going to get into that. But first, we're going to discuss the big Tesla stories this week. Oh, quite echoing. There's an echo right now. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I'm not sure you're on the right microphone. I hope that's not something that we have to stop the show for, but
Oh.
I didn't realize. I'm sorry. I didn't catch it earlier.
I think actually you're right. You're right.
1 2 1 2 1 2. Is that
That's
better?
it. Yep.
All right, let's go.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Yes, thanks a lot. And yeah, that was my bad. It's okay. It should have been okay though for the people listening, just audio only. I think I was already just on my right microphone for that. All right. The Tesla news this week. We're gonna start with something that pretty much took over all the news from Tesla this week, or mostly, which was the tragic, fatal Tesla crash in Texas near Houston. And that happened last weekend, but the news started pouring in mainly on Monday. So, okay, at first, let's discuss the facts that we know for sure around the accident. So, which is kind of limited because a lot of the facts are being kind of disputed. But what we know is that on Saturday, around 11 p.m., so late at night, a Tesla Model S owner, I think a 2019 Model S, if I'm not mistaken, went for a drive with one of his friends and left in his very residential, very upscale neighborhood, small residential roads, and crashed the car almost immediately after starting the drive. Hit a tree, and the car caught on fire, and the two occupants, the owner, the driver, and his passenger, both died. Just a tragic event for sure. Now, where things gets more complicated, I mean, Tesla crashes always gather news, especially if there's a fire, electric car fires and everything like that. However, in this case, the fire itself is not really what caught people's attention. Especially, like, let's be honest, a car hitting a tree at decent speed it's not unusual for it to catch on fire. What happened is that the police reported that there was no one in the driver's seat. The passenger was on the front passenger seat, and the owner, who's the driver, was in the back seat. And so that started a lot of speculation. A lot of people said that it was an autonomous Tesla crash, even though we know that there's not an actual autonomous Tesla on the road anyway. But more precisely, then people assume that it was an autopilot-related crash. But then that fact was disputed in itself because, first of all, the fact that he was on the back seat, that might happen after the crash. However, the police said that they do believe that no one was driving the car. It's not clear if they believe that because of the way they found the deceased. But there was another piece of information that came in that, again, got the media started, is that a family member of the owner said that it's unclear what he told the police exactly. If he just told them that he saw the driver jumping into the back seat after starting the drive, or if there's that apparently was said, and other local media reported that he also said that they were actually going out to test autonomous features of the vehicle. So, I mean, that's what was reported around it. So it's not exactly clear what happened. Of course, the media went on a frenzy on it. An autonomous Tesla crashed, driverless, no one in the driver's seat, and everything. We know that that's not possible to happen because there's no autonomous Tesla. Tesla requires you to keep your hands on the steering wheel, or actually ask you to stay attentive at all time. So if some autopilot related driver assist features were involved in this, it was potentially abused. But we don't know that for a fact, because then what happened is that after the media went wild with the story, Elon chimed in a tweet and said that the data logs recovered so far show Autopilot was not enabled and this car did not purchase FSD. Moreover, standard Autopilot would require lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have. All right. And by the way, I got a ton of attacks from Tesla fans from this article, which was just stating the facts, really. Just because I said Elon Musk claims, I use the word claims, that Tesla involved the fatal crash, the one that wasn't on Autopilot. I mean, it's literally what he's doing here. He's claiming that. And I say claim because that's the only information we have. Like this short comment from Elon Musk, and I think that shows like why Tesla could use a PR department here, because for that kind of coverage that this incident received, and a lot of misinformation was shared and everything, I think it needed more than this little tweet from Elon here, because let's be honest, the accident is weird. I'm not saying that Autopilot was involved, but someone to crash a car like that just 100 yards from your starting to drive in a small neighborhood like that, it's strange. Let's be honest. Now, and Tesla has some kind of history, and we experienced that ourselves, reporting on those incidents before, with kind of representing the data logs in a way that served them a little bit. Like the best example we've seen before is Tesla telling the media, "Hey, we got the logs." Every time that there was an Autopilot related accident, and the driver would blame Autopilot, which is not the case here, obviously, because the driver died in the accident. But Tesla would when the driver didn't die and blamed the Autopilot, Tesla would pull out the logs and interpret the log as like, it wasn't Autopilot's fault, it was your fault. Which most of the case that we could review, it seems accurate. However, Tesla would sometimes say things like, or we couldn't detect the driver's hand on the wheels at the time of the accident, which the media kind of repeated quickly. But we both know that Tesla cannot detect hands on the steering wheel of its vehicle. It can only detect if someone is applying torque to the wheel. So it is factual to say that they couldn't detect the hands of the wheels, but Tesla knowingly spread that information, knowing that the media would just say, the hands were not on the wheels, which is not true necessarily. I'm like anyone that's been driving a Tesla on Autopilot knows that has received a notification to apply torque on the wheel while your hands were already on the wheels. That's extremely common. Again, I'm not saying this is like the case here, but like I'm saying, we need to be careful how this is interpreted, especially with the nature of this accident, the facts around it, or what has been said by the police, what has been said by the family member. It's generally strange. So that's why I would like a more thorough response from Tesla than this tweet from Elon that just says, "Hey, Autopilot wasn't activated." Okay, wasn't activated exactly at the moment of the crash. Did it get deactivated and activated before? Now Elon also says that, you couldn't even activate it on that road, which I mean, I don't know because I've never driven on that road. But I don't know about you, Seth, but plenty of times with Autopilot, even prior to FSD, standard Autopilot, I'd get on a road that doesn't have lane markings and is not a 2-lane road, and the steering wheel would still appear and let me activate auto steer. I don't know about you.
Oh, I can do autopilot in my driveway.
Yeah,
I don't have any lines on my driveway, obviously.
you don't.
It's a one way.
Yeah. So, and this comes back to an article too that I wrote yesterday that got a little controversial too, about Elon kind of dismissing the coverage of this accident and other thing that happened in the last few weeks too, that in the media as attacks from the media. I mean, the media coverage of the incident was far from perfect, but that's always the case with everything, really. Was it a little bit excessive in this case? Probably. But I wouldn't consider them attacks on Tesla. It's an accident that is strange, and people are trying to understand it. My biggest takeaway of all this: Tesla should help everyone understand it better, and I'm just not sure this is what is happening from Tesla's part. I mean, that all we got is this tweet from Elon,
right?
which,
and that makes it seem a little bit even more sketchy, because like, why, if you're not explaining what happened, and obviously Tesla has more data than anybody, then what are you omitting, and why are you omitting stuff? I don't want to say hiding, but like what's there? I mean, we still don't know anything about this. The guy could have crashed and maybe he was still conscious and tried to get out the back door or something. Like, there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, that's on the cops. The cops said nobody was driving, but do they know that? Like, was it seatbelt?
That's a piece of information that would be important. Do the cops solely base that on how they found the bodies, or if it's related to what the family members said about them going on a drive and maybe jumping the back seat and maybe even stating that they were going out to test the autonomous features? So, I mean, obviously, I think it's just rational. All the Tesla fans are like, "Hey, this isn't an attack on Autopilot. This is an attack." Like, let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt here and assume that anyone is trying to do here. It's not everyone, but most people, including the media, are just trying to understand what happened, because Tesla is at the cutting edge of autonomous driving and driver assist features. And this car was equipped with driver assist features that we know, not the FSD, but still. And so people are adding up the two. Is that right to do that? No, but it's right to trying to find out more information about it. So let's all take it down a notch and not consider everything that's not positive about Tesla an attack. People are just trying to understand what's going on. But you just mentioned the logs here, which is very interesting, because another thing that's happening right now in China that I thought was very, very interesting in relation to that is that yesterday Tesla ended up actually releasing the data logs for another accident that happened in China, where the owner was claiming that there was some issues with her brakes. So we reported on that earlier this week. It's actually related to the Shanghai Motor Show, which we were just talking about, where this woman here that you see on screen crashed Tesla's boot at the motor show, jumped on one of the display vehicles, and claimed that Tesla's brakes are not working. Okay, we didn't know much about the claim at the time why our claim, where our claim was originating from, the actual issue that happened or concern about the Tesla brakes. So our initial reporting was more about the incident itself at the show, because that got a lot of bad press for Tesla in China, unfortunately, because of the way that it was handled. The woman was dragged out of the boot quite forcibly, and then she was reportedly, according to local media, she was put in police detention for 5 days over a little display here, which is a little bit excessive. And but what drew us some backlash from Tesla is actually the response that the automaker had on social media regarding the incident at the motor show, which was kind of bland response. Like they said that they do take customer concern seriously, but in this case it was excessive, whatever. And and the social media, it started trending on Weibo, the response, and most of the people thought that was negative on the response. The word mentioned was cocky. But then what happened is actually a good thing. So Tesla fans out there, are like, hey, don't say anything bad about Tesla and anything. What happened is that forced Tesla to actually do the right thing here, and they issue an apology, and they said that they're going to review our case seriously and get back to everyone, which is what they did. But what they did, they went a little bit further than that, which was impressive. Well, impressive or not, depending on how you see it, because they actually released part of the data logs of our incident. Well, it was a crash in our Tesla, or her father's Tesla, but she was involved in the incident. If you remember previously, in those times where Tesla owners were blaming Autopilot after crashes that we just discussed, when Tesla was discussing those data logs to prove that Autopilot wasn't involved, they never would release the actual data logs. They would just release their own interpretation of the logs, and that drew some criticism for Tesla, because every time it made them look just like they were just blaming the driver, the owner of the car, instead of their own technology. And they were like, release the actual log so that we can look into it ourselves independently and everything. And Tesla always said, no, we're never going to do that. And they said it was actually for the privacy of the customers. However, even customers asking for their own data would be shut down by Tesla. So this was a controversy for a little while. But now in this case, in the case of this incident, right here, Tesla actually released the data log of the incident that happened on February 21st. They released like 6 seconds of data logs where you can see the timestamps here. You can even see the VIN number of the owner here. I mean, you cannot do much with a VIN number, but in terms of protecting the privacy of the owner, I don't know if like that has any impact. Though you can actually see anyone's VIN number if you have physical access to the car, so it's not a big deal. Then here appears to be the speed in kilometers an hour. Here it's input from the driver. So we see driver applying brakes. It's weird because the section are in Chinese, but this is actually in English. And this is here, the last column appears to be pressure applied to the brakes. That's my understanding of it. And Tesla also released a sort of an explanation with it, and they say that the car was driving at 118 kilometers an hour. The driver applied the brake, but not forcibly. That just applied a little bit the brake. The actual pressure numbers was 45.9 bars, and then they started applying the brakes more, presumably because they saw an accident coming, but they weren't applying full pressure on the brakes. And then the emergency automatic brake kicked in, applied the brakes at full force, which reduced the impact of the incident of the crash, but didn't prevent the crash altogether. That's the interpretation of Tesla from the data logs. From the data logs themselves, unless I'm mistaken, I mean it's a screenshot, and it's been like you can see there's more data on the right side that we don't see. I cannot actually differentiate the driver physically applying the brakes and automatic braking being applied. They did highlight two of these brake pressure data points at 45 and 92. And so I assume that at 92, that's when not even, because then it went down after a second. So yeah, it's very unclear to me. I don't know if you have a different interpretation, Sid.
It's hard for me to tell, but looking at this, I'm like, well, why don't they just release that for the previously talked about fire incident? Like, this would be kind of helpful to see what happened in the moments leading up to the crash.
Well, yeah, if they get permission from the family of the owner, that would make sense, of course. But this goes back to my point. Tesla needs a PR department. They do have one in China, and you can see the response from the everything that's happening in China is much more thorough than everything that happens in the US, where it's just Elon that tweets at people sometimes. now you have a thorough response from Tesla's Chinese PR team.
You know what? Maybe we should start reaching out to Tesla's China PR team
about things that happen in the
US.
In the US.
I mean, they have access to the same data.
Yeah. I mean, I think they should just. I know you're joking, but they should just have their own PR team here too. It would make so much sense. Yeah. So that came out, and but then there's another crazy thing that happened in China today. Because at the same time that this crash started being publicized in China, another crash, this time in Guangzhou, I want to say, I don't know if I'll pronounce that, but one of those mega cities that you have in China, Guangzhou, it's a port city. There was a crash that happened earlier this month, but a video of it came out this week and got people like worried, have some safety concern about Tesla. It was another crash on the highway, a fatal crash, and the car caught on fire. The car was passing someone, hit a cement barrier, and caught on fire. But now it's the response from the authorities that are quite surprising from this incident. A bunch of Tesla owners, for some reason, the videos are not loading right now. But a bunch of Tesla owners are now reporting that they're being blocked by the police from even driving on the highway with their car. And any Tesla car. If you have a Tesla branded car, they're stopping you. And I wish the video would just pop up right now. But you can see long lines of Tesla vehicles being pulled aside on the highway in Guangzhou. Again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But it is quite concerning. I mean, that they are able to just block citizens from using the highway just from owning. You can see it here, just from owning a Tesla vehicle, and you can see here three Tesla vehicles on the side with the police right around them, and then you have another one right here where you have a long line of Tesla vehicle here at what do you call those? A toll booth or something.
Yeah.
So they're all pulling them on the side and letting them through the highway system. So that's kind of crazy.
It's definitely crazy.
Yeah. And I went on Tesla's Weibo to see if because that's again one of their tools of their PR department in China, where they did make a statement that they are in contact with the local authorities about the issue. And they are willing to, again, do the same thing and share the data from the last incident, the same thing that they did with the last incident with this one to try to clear things up. But I'm not even sure what's the concern here from the police, from the authorities, if it's if they think that the fire is a concern or if it's they think that Autopilot was involved in the crash. It's not clear. If Tesla is talking about sharing the data, I would assume that it's related to Autopilot because I don't know what kind of data they can get about the fire itself. But again, the fire, like, I mean, if you're on the highway, I assume they were driving at a decent speed. If you're hitting a cement barrier at a decent speed, your car can catch on fire, whether it's a Tesla or not, whether it's electric or not. So, but yeah, not a good week for Tesla in the news in China and the US relating to crashes. That's for sure. Yeah, if you guys have any question related to those incidents, you can put them in the comment section right now. I'm going to move on to other Tesla news, but we're going to get back to the comment section later on the show. All right. Tesla Solar. Elon has had an announcement this week where he said that they're going to bundle the solar products, solar roof and solar panels, with the Powerwall starting next week. So last month, we already reported on Electrek that Tesla is now not selling the Powerwall anymore without solar products, or either a solar roof or their solar panel or rooftop retrofit, as they call it. And so that was already in the move made last month. But what Elon is doing right now is doing the reverse too. So it means that if you do buy a solar roof from them or a solar panel installation, you have to have a Powerwall. So, yeah.
Will third-party solar installers still have access to Powerwalls?
I would assume so because it's a big part of the business for Tesla. I mean, and also like giant company like Sunrun use Tesla now. So, I mean, cutting off their supply would be kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I
it's
think
something that I thought too about, and I'm going to keep an eye out on that in the next few weeks, because you go on Sunrun's website. I mean, I checked as it was announced. I don't know if it has changed since, but the Powerwall is still advertised everywhere, and Sunrun is the number one residential solar installer in the U.S.
I don't think it's a crazy move, because I think a lot of people, when they buy solar, they expect that when the power goes out, that they can use power from the solar panels to keep their house going. And a lot of people find out the hard way that just because you have solar doesn't mean you have a backup power source. But the battery allows you to take your solar, store it up a little bit, and then distribute it out to your house. And they have an islanding apparatus as well. So I think Tesla is probably getting a lot of people who are like, hey, I bought solar from you and my power went out and the solar panel stopped working. As all solar manufacturers probably have that same issue. So I think you get a better product. It's better. They work better together.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I'm on the Sunrun website anymore, and there's not much Powerwall stuff on it anymore. They still have the bright box thing, which is the LG one. There's still a page about the Powerwall, but it's hidden from the main page now. So I'm going to keep an eye on that in the near future, because you might have a good point there. Yeah, and speaking of the islanding stuff and everything, Elon also had in another interesting comment where he says that now the solar power will feed exclusively to the Powerwall. Powerwall will interface only between utility meter and house main breaker panel, enabling super simple and seamless whole house backup during utility dropout. That's a change, right? Because right now you can have your solar power going directly to your main meter without going to your Powerwall, right?
I don't think so. Main meter, no. Everything is behind the meter, and then they have a transfer switch, which if the main power coming in drops out, then it islands itself, and then you become like an off-grid situation. But usually the solar just goes into the main panel.
Okay. That's interesting. All right, staying on the Powerwall, Elon also announced a power increase for the Powerwall. So a power increase, not an energy increase. So that's something that I actually realized as I was writing the article. The Powerwall 2 hasn't really been upgraded, at least not publicly, since its release, which was way back in 2016. So 2016 or 2017. Did I write that anywhere? 2016 that was released. So I mean, it's been a while. It's been 5 years since that thing was released. I did find out that the weight changed a little. So you see that they did improve the energy density of it. It went from 269 pounds to 251 pounds. So still a decent drop off. But other than that, the power output stayed the same. Well, the energy capacity actually changed a little bit, but it changed right away. That was right after they said 14 at first kilowatt hour, and then it was just quickly adjusted to 13.5. But the power capacity stayed the same at a peak of 7 kilowatts and continuous of 5 kilowatts. Now, Elon announced that the power capacity is going to increase for, I mean, didn't say all Powerwalls, but the Powerwall that already been installed for a while, the Powerwall 2, because they're just based on the data itself. So they figure out that they can push it a little bit higher than that 5 kilowatt continuous 7 peak. Didn't elaborate on how much, but he also said that he also confirmed that there was some hardware upgrades too, because he said the newer Powerwalls, he said, depending on the production date, which he unfortunately didn't release, said that the power increase may be as much as over 50% at 30 C ambient temperature. So that would be a more than decent upgrade. That would be a pretty big upgrade. At the same time, he also said that the newer inverter, which was recently launched, the solar inverter from Tesla, which is said to have coming in 3.8 and 7.6 kilowatt power capacity, can actually, the more recent one can now go up to 10 kilowatt of power output. So also a big upgrade. I would assume that that's the 7.6 and not the 3.8, but still another almost like 50% increase in power capacity. So it's nice to see Tesla still working a bit on those, because again, the product has remained mostly unchanged for the last 5 years. But also, it's been like it has such a big lead in home battery storage that Tesla really didn't have to play too much with it. What they played with was the actual pricing, which has been going up. So again, because of the demand is so great for it that they can afford that. Speaking of prices going up, the Model 3 and Model Y prices were adjusted last night in an update to the online configurator, and a few version of the Model 3 and Model Y went up in price, all by $500, which is not much, but starting to add up now. So Standard Range Plus went up by $500 to $39,000. Long Range All-Wheel Drive went up by $500 to $48,000. Model 3 Performance stays the same at $57,000. Model Y Long Range All-Wheel Drive went up to $51,000, and the Performance stayed the same at $61,000. So again, $500 doesn't seem that much, but this is the fifth or sixth, sixth price change on the lineup this year. The first few were actually price reduction, bringing the price of the Model 3 Standard Range Plus, which is the cheapest Tesla vehicle that you can buy new right now, hit a low of $37,000 in February from those price decrease, and then with those three consecutive price increases, $1,000, $500, $500. Now it's $39,000. So in the space of 2 months, the cheapest small Tesla vehicle went up by $2,000. So this is a more significant price increase. Now, of course, everyone is speculating on why, the reason behind those price increase, and we just don't know. It might actually be Tesla's cost going up, because a lot of costs of a lot of different goods have been going up lately, including steel, which is a big part of the Model 3 and the Model Y. So that could explain Tesla increasing prices. The microchip shortage too has been driving prices up. So that might be affecting Tesla. We don't know. And or it could be just Tesla trying to capitalize on more demand for the vehicle, so they're increasing the prices. And the last piece of speculation we would discuss before is potentially Tesla preparing for the Model 3 receiving a tax incentive or a new rebate with the reform of the program that the Democrats are trying to pass in the infrastructure bill. And that might sound like a bit of an opportunistic move from Tesla to just increase prices because they think they're going to get subsidies. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that Tesla buyers didn't have access to that incentive for the last basically 2 years now. And you could say that it wasn't for the right reason too, because the program, the way it was set up, was kind of detrimental for early movers like Tesla. And Tesla actually adjusted their price down when the subsidies were taken away from them. So it would be fair for them to readjust up if they have access back. But we're gonna see. I mean, at the end of the day, like, hopefully just more butts in electric cars. That's what we want. All right, are we moving on from Tesla? Not yet. We're moving on from Tesla. Not the Shanghai Motor Show just yet, but actually the Cadillac Lyriq was unveiled this week. Well, the production version was unveiled this week, and the good news is that there's not that much news, because the car is almost the same as the concept that was unveiled last year, and the concept was was crazy hot, and now the production version is almost the same. I mean, literally, like it had like one cup holder in the concept. Now it has two cup holders. It's just good things, just good things. Yeah, the design is still sharp. I mean, I knew you were a big fan of the. You're actually one of the few people that saw it in person last year.
Yeah, it's a little bit toned down from the original.
Just a tiny.
I love the inside, the inside, and the outside is just a little bit too busy for me. I think it could be simplified a little bit, in my opinion, but it's really growing on me. But the inside, they've done a remarkable job. Cadillac likes to have a lot of buttons. They've replaced a lot of the buttons with a huge screen.
And just on the steering wheel. Look at that.
Yeah, all the buttons have been moved to the steering wheel, which is good if you're ergonomically talking. But just the inside of the one that we got to sit in was like super comfortable. It's like a 4-seater. The back seats all have screens. I don't know if that's going to make it to the production, but it just like sitting in it was like a super nice experience. It was a little bit less Spartan than Tesla's, but a little bit more busy than a Tesla, but a little bit less Spartan than the the Mercedes we've seen and Cadillac's typical car, which has nothing but buttons everywhere.
Yeah, they definitely went with a wider screen here, which was we've seen a lot in new electric vehicles coming out lately. I feel like this one is a little bit more reserved, though. I think it works better. Like it's still a big one, like 30-something inches, but it's not as crazy as the EQS, for example, from Mercedes.
It's kind of overwhelming.
Just like wraps around the whole car, basically, like a 360 experience. But no, I like it a lot. In terms of the specs, it's going to be equipped with a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack for over 300 miles of range with the initial version, which is going to be rear-wheel drive. But the exciting part of that is you get a 100 kilowatt battery pack for the cheapest it has ever been, because the car is going to start at $60,000. So $60,000 getting a 100 kilowatt battery pack, that's an interesting deal here. So also over 300 miles of range. I don't know, like maybe we get a surprise from them, and because I know they are planning an all-wheel drive version in the future too. I mean, Cadillac is not like all-wheel drive is not that big of a deal for them, and they kind of convey that in the virtual release that there was this week. But they say that it could be coming in the future. But just with a rear-wheel drive, a very efficient rear-wheel drive, you could get a decent mileage out of that with a 100 kilowatt battery pack. The car is not crazy aerodynamic. I don't actually know the drag coefficient. Just eyeing it, I don't see it as being crazy aerodynamic. But I think they could surprise us. Other key features: a big 19.2 onboard charger, so 19.2 kilowatts. You won't be using that much. Like you would need the. Look at your local plug share. Look at your plug share app and look at your local charging station. Most of them won't have 19.2, but
you're lucky to get 10 kilowatts.
But you have it in your car if you do have that option somewhere at least.
Yeah, Tesla was the first with the 19.2, and they had the 80 amp charges for the Model S and Model X, I think. And it wasn't popular enough to keep it, so they're now at 48 amps.
Yeah. You could. I think it was standard at first. Then you could buy it as an option at the dual chargers, and then they just like, oh, we're not even gonna offer it anymore because no one was buying it,
or nobody was using it.
Yeah, people were buying it. They weren't using it either way because the wall charger came at 80 amps. You could configure it at 80 amps, but no one was actually installing it with 80 amps cables and everything like that. So,
right.
I mean, I'm sure some people did it, but not a lot. In terms of DC fast charging capacity, you have 190, which is
solid.
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, it's not top of the line for a 2022 vehicle, but actually it's a 2023 vehicle, which I'm not sure I understand that, because I think it's the case because they're actually ahead of schedule for it. So it was supposed to come out in late 2022 and be a 2023 model. Now it's actually going to come in early 2022, like end of Q1. They were saying in terms of timing. So end of Q1, but it's still going to be a 2022 model. So
about a year from now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but still, on that rear-wheel drive motor, you have 255 kilowatt output, which pretty decent. I mean, Cadillacs are never like crazy performance vehicle, or like they're the luxury vehicle more than performance ones. We included all the specs here if you want to get into the dimension, the headrooms, and everything. It's a pretty heavy vehicle at 5,600 pounds, but again, it's a Cadillac, so I still venture to say that, like, it won't drive like your usual Cadillac. It's still gonna be a little bit more peppy, I think. But yeah, Q1 2022 and $60,000 base price. So overall, I think they hit the mark. Like it's
Yeah, it's a good first effort, unless you include the ELR or whatever, that Volt Cadillac they had.
Yeah, it's the first all electric one, because it was a plug-in hybrid, that ELR.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, in terms of the design too, I'm glad that they stay close to the original concept. All right, that wasn't the only thing they announced, Cadillac, when they unveiled the Lyriq. They also confirmed that this marks the starting from now with the Lyriq, every other vehicle that they're gonna unveil, new vehicle they're gonna unveil, is gonna be all electric. Basically, they're stopping development on their internal combustion engine vehicles, but doesn't mean that they're gonna just go all electric too quick, though, because as what was his name, Rory Harvey, the head of Cadillac, he did boast about the current lineup of Cadillac being quite fresh already. So even though they're not going to release new internal combustion vehicles, they're going to keep selling them for a while, because the lineup is relatively fresh and like every 5-year release and everything. So like just for example, the Escalade, I think is brand new, the new version of the Escalade, so that's going to be on sale for a while. But anyway, that's the kind of announcement that I do like, because even though like they said that they will stop selling ICE by 2030, which I think is going to happen sooner than that, whether they want it or not. I think that's the main thing, is like stop developing new internal combustion engine vehicle. That's the minimum that I think automakers can do. It always makes me crazy, because I mean, we only cover electric vehicles at Electrek, but we are on the mailing list of all presses for all automakers. So we do get all the pressers for the other cars that come out, and every time there's a new gasoline car, and also working for Electrek, my mind always go, every time I see a press release from BMW coming in, I'm assuming it's going to be an EV, just because of how my brain works. But like, they are releasing a brand new internal combustion engine car. That means that over the last few years, they've been like, knowing that Electrek is the future, they work on that thing, like, and then putting myself in the shoes of the engineers working on that program, and like, they have to be like this is not the future that I'm working on right now. This is even like, this is gonna kind of a flop of a program. Even though if they could sell well for a year or two, like after that it's gonna be tough. And I think that's what's going to happen with Cadillac here. Even though they say that they think they're gonna keep selling ICE vehicles until 2030, I think in the next 4 or 5 years, especially if the Lyriq, and then you have what's the Celestiq, the other one,
Celestiq. Yep.
Celestiq. Like they look like great entries for electric vehicles for the first few Cadillacs. And I mean, personally, I know that they would be the only Cadillac that I would ever consider buying. And I think in the next few years, the market's perception is going to go that way too. Like you're going to go on a Cadillac dealer's slot, and hopefully the EVs are there. And then you're going to look at the Lyriq, you're going to look at the Celestiq, and you're going to look at the Escalade and everything like that. And you're like, the Lyriq and the Celestiq, they're a lot more... they look like a car of tomorrow instead of like a car of the past, which I think a lot of the ICE cars, that's the feeling that I get from when I look at an ICE car. All right. Now at the Shanghai Motor Show, Mercedes-Benz, which just unveiled the EQS last week, now they unveiled the EQB which is a new compact electric SUV. You just had the EQA that was unveiled. That was a little bit smaller. This is just a tiny bit bigger. The EQB, kind of a GLC kind of a type of vehicle. GLC, GLB. I'm not very familiar with Mercedes' gasoline lineup, but yeah, I mean, it's a sharp-looking vehicle right there. Did they release the spec here? Yeah, 66.5 kilowatt-hour battery pack, 200 kilowatt motor. Though they're kind of weird, like they're talking about a bunch of different motors for different markets. So they said in China it's going to be an output of up to 215 with an AMG actually line on that compact SUV, which is interesting. Then in other markets in Europe, it's going to be 200 kilowatts with 66.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. And there was something about the US market here. Oh no, they just said that they're going to release the US spec later on this year. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But you can assume that it's going to be similar or bigger. That's been the trend that we've seen from automakers now when they do release different powertrains for the same electric vehicles in different market. Normally they reserve the ones from North America for the bigger ones, which I assume is to hit a better number on the EPA cycle, which is harder to get than the WLTP. And also just in general, I think the at least they think that the North American market has more range anxiety and does require longer range. I assume that's their thinking. But yeah, that thing is coming out later this year. At least the specs are coming out later this year. Same for the VW ID.6. So that was unveiled in China for Chinese market. At the motor show, it's the bigger SUV for the ID lineup, still with the MEB platform.
It's weird to me that they released that in China. Like, I feel like that is the Americanist of all VWs.
For sure.
I mean, it's got a third row. It's got everything that Americans want, just huge, pointless space. It's perfect for the US.
It is, until you look at the specs a little bit, which what I just said, like they're talking about two battery pack option, a 58 kilowatt hour and a 77 kilowatt hour. And again, that is similar to what you get in an ID.4, but in a much bigger, a bigger format, a slightly bigger format. So the range we would assume would be significantly shorter on the EPA cycle, and the ID.4 Pro gets 260 miles. But I would assume you still get over 200 miles of range on the with that bigger form factor. So, but for sure, I doubt that they would sell the 58 kilowatt hour version in the US. So
unlikely.
Yeah, but 677, and maybe you get a bigger one too. I mean, the MEB is made to be able to get like over 100, I think, kilowatt hour on the platform. So, why not do it? Well, why not? We probably know why not. Probably like battery supply and things like that. But they could definitely get 100 kilowatt hour in that ID.6, and depending on the price point, which again you can get a little bit higher with that, they could. But I think they would do very well in the US.
Yeah, it's weird because a lot of the people who say I want to go electric, except I need a third row, like you point them at a Model X or a Model Y, and they're like, no, that's not what I want. This would be perfect for them. I know probably like 3 or 4 of my friends didn't go electric because they didn't get the third row. And knowing this is out there is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, you have a third row right there. I like the interior. Simple.
Yeah. It's very similar to the ID.4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's almost the same. And the software is getting better. We had the ID.4 for a drive. There was some slowness and some. I mean, it wasn't like bad software. It was just it needed to be tightened up a little bit. And frankly, everybody just usually pops into CarPlay when they can. So zooming around the other stuff wasn't really a big priority.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, we have 2 more news items to go through, and then we're gonna jump into the comment section and answer your questions. So if you have any, put them in right now, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter. We're not on LinkedIn anymore. Anyway, you're gonna figure it out. Toyota unveiled their long-awaited electric SUV, but they did that without specs. So that's why we're not leading today's podcast with that story. Because I mean, Toyota unveiling an electric SUV, that would be kind of a big deal. But and it's still kind of a big deal. But it's just, I mean, I didn't understand their unveiling without specs. So there it is.
That's
the BZ4X, and BZ, which stands for Beyond Zero, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Beyond Zero, whatever that means. It's kind of a new electric sub brand for Toyota, and let's go through some of the design, because that's pretty much the only thing that was unveiled this week. I like it. The design is sharp, though. I'm also like a big fan of like the RAV4 and everything like that. I cannot stand Toyota for the for what they stand for in terms of their like anti-EV lobbying and all that. But this is I have to admit, though, this is a good looking SUV right there. It just is, right?
I'm a big
crazy fan.
I mean, I drove a Prius for almost a decade, so obviously
that's an ugly car.
I have no taste in cars and a Bolt, so me liking something isn't indicative of its actual broader appeal.
The interior, though, I don't know what's going on. Well, but that's a Toyota thing too, like the Prius interior, like with the dash in the middle, like everything.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like the center console looks okay, but this thing here, like, what is that? Like, why?
Don't know.
Like, look at that. I mean, this angle is not too bad. I can see more what they're doing with this, but every other angle, like this deep well here underneath the steering wheel, looks useless to me. Like,
you put your phone there or something.
Well, yeah, but then you kind of have you're blocking the view of your instrument cluster, which is already quite small,
and also blocked by the wheel a little bit.
Yes, and I mean, like, why do you need those sides here? Like, why could you not make this smooth? I don't know. Like,
it's a prototype, so maybe they'll tone it down a little bit.
It is a prototype, but the whole point here, like, the center console looks sharp. All right, that's nothing crazy. Double
glass roof.
Yeah,
nice.
Back seat with what's happening here? Back seat with flat. If you can see, there's a flat floor. It's always good to see. But yeah, so all they said is like, all right, we have this SUV concept here. It's equipped with Subaru all-wheel drive, which, I mean, Subaru is known for this great all-wheel drive, but I mean, now all EVs have kind of pretty good, even great all-wheel drive compared to gasoline-powered all-wheel drive. Like, having a dual motor makes having a good all-wheel drive easy compared to having a combustion engine feeding 2 axles. So I don't know how exciting it is to say that we have a Subaru all-wheel drive when you have an electric vehicle. But yeah, they say that what they say. Well, unveiled as a concept today, they already announced plans to have it in production in Japan and China, as well as aiming to begin worldwide sales by the middle of 2022. So middle of 2022, worldwide sales, and they did mention U.S. products detail will be shared at a later date. So I don't know, maybe it's because of the U.S. market that they didn't reveal any spec, because the specs are going to be different with every market. I don't know, but yeah, that's the BZ4X from Toyota. Very good looking SUV.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Maybe BZ4X. Good specs, maybe bad specs. We don't know. All right, Genesis 2 is coming out with their first all-electric vehicle. It's an all-electric version of the G80. and which is of course already like their flagship sedan in their lineup. So now they're gonna have an electric version of it, and they unveil a concept for it. I mean, Genesis not having an electric vehicle in the market yet is kind of strange, because I
Yep.
mean we've been loving what we've been seeing from Hyundai for a little while now, and Genesis is of course Hyundai's luxury brand, and
I can't
I mean, yeah,
remember. Does this use the same drivetrain as the Ioniq 5? Like, did they say that, or was that part of the
I
thing?
didn't see them saying that. Also, I don't think we have that much specs from it, other than I don't know. There are some similarities I noted. Oh yeah, the bidirectional vehicle to load technology. So that's like the Ioniq.
Yep.
800 volt. I think I saw that too. I don't know. I reported on so many electric vehicles this week that I don't even remember. 250 kilowatt charging. So yeah, it sounds like it's probably the same powertrain. I wouldn't be surprised
That's
if
good.
it is.
That's a good
It's
powertrain.
350 kilowatt charging, and I want to say I saw 800 volt system too somewhere, but now I feel like I might be making that up. But I mean, it's all 800 volt if it's 350 kilowatts charging. So
Kind of
I
feel
don't
like
know
that big a car would need a bigger battery, but
yeah, it's a full size sedan for sure. If we look at the design here, I mean, I'm
beyond
not
full size.
I'm not the biggest fan of Genesis design, but this one looks pretty sharp.
Yep.
I mean, the color is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Like, this is definitely not something that I would
You're not an
I
aqua
would
guy?
buy. A what?
You're not an aqua guy?
An aqua. I mean, it is a beautiful color. It's just on a car like that, especially when you think of the resale. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, and the interior is. I think it needs to grow on you.
Yes. Or they need to grow it out a little bit differently. I mean, it's weird that because you know the G, what is it, G80, G60?
G80, yeah.
Yeah, G80 already exists, so they're kind of retrofitting. That's something Hyundai does quite a bit. Like the Kona and the original Ioniq have gas versions or hybrid versions. It's weird because usually that strategy doesn't do well, but Hyundai seems to be able to pass off having a gas and an electric version of the same car.
Yeah.
They don't purpose build cars electric or gas.
Well, they might match this one with a new version of a new generation of the G8 that's produced. That it might be like its own platform.
Yeah.
And I know that they do that sometimes. But yeah, I'm always having an issue more in terms of the pricing when they do release like the same car that with a gasoline version, and like
Right.
the Ioniq original Ioniq is a good example. But like, how much is the Genesis G80 in the US?
No idea. I would guess probably 80,000.
Okay, you guess 80,000. I'm gonna say 60,000.
All right.
2021. No. Here, Genesis US. I keep redirecting me to the Canadian website because I'm in Canada. And also my internet is like crazy slow.
All right. Whoa. 47,000.
Oh, okay. Well, that get me scared now. That get me scared because I feel like 47. Yeah, I can see it too now. Okay. Yeah, because I don't think that that's going to be the price of the Ioniq 5.
Definitely. Yeah. This is going to cost way more than that.
Yeah. So the G80 electric.
Wow, that's a pretty nice car for under 50,000. Maybe I'll get a gas car. Just kidding. But,
yeah.
But seriously, the Genesis,
I think it's going to be over 60.
Yeah, probably 60 to 70. I mean, maybe it's going up against the Cadillac a little bit. Although this is a sedan.
Yeah. Also, can we talk a second about the name? Electrified G80? Like, that cannot be the name, right?
No, they'll probably come up with something else. Hopefully. I mean,
maybe it's almost as bad as Volvo.
Right.
The Volvo Recharge. Like,
yeah, it's not the best for sure.
You can do better. All right, that was our last article of the week to discuss the last piece of news. We're gonna jump into the comment section right now. Let's do it.
All right. It wouldn't be a comment section without a question about the Tesla Model 2 or the cheaper one. Is it so? Seattle, Vienna, says, is it reasonable to assume Tesla will announce the Model 2 later this year? Maybe that's the reason they're upping the prices. They got to create some room between the Model 2 and the Model 3. Probably not. Seems like an announcement later this year with production starting in 2023 sounds possible. What do you think?
It's been a long time since Tesla has unveiled a new vehicle. If you don't count the new Model S and Model X, which I don't, because literally it was unveiled as a website update at the same time as the last earning results. So it's not really I'm talking a new vehicle unveiled. We haven't had that since the Cybertruck, which was November 2019. So yeah, later this year, I think would make sense. We've seen plenty of indication of Tesla working on the design of that model, hiring designer in China and everything. I don't know how quick the turnaround can be, but I think it's a real possibility that we see it by the end of the year. Production by 2023 now. Did you say model year 2023 or no? Starting in 2023. So we know that the model, he's calling it the Model 2, but we don't know that's going to be the name. But the $25,000 Tesla, we know that it's dependent on Tesla achieving high volume production of the new 4680 cells and doing that so that they do achieve their cost target for the new battery, or at least per kilowatt hour cost reduction of 50%. But at the same time, the volume needs to be there for the existing vehicle program, which includes the Cybertruck and let's just talk about the ones that are the new vehicle programs, because Tesla can still use the 2170 formats for the others. So Cybertruck and Tesla Semi is going to be a giant cell consumer. Yeah, maybe 2023, maybe.
Yeah,
optimistic.
Maybe China first too. All right,
definitely China first. Yeah.
MDC Forerunner asks, when will I get my I want it FSD button? So Elon says what, June or July? So probably around December.
Yeah, that's a joke, but it's funny because it's true.
Right. All right. Has there been any news, rumors saying whether any Model S has been produced? Why such little press attention? Well, we've seen some, out and about.
Plenty of prototypes, but they all have manufacturer plates on them, so it's no consumer deliveries yet. I'm sticking with the theory that we came up with a few podcasts ago about software being the issue here. There's a lot of software work, which is kind of funny because, man, those Tesla super fans, they love to go after Volkswagen, screwing everything up with software, delaying the ID3 deliveries and everything. But again, I'm speculating here, but it's starting to be very likely that's a big part of the issue here, because 2 months ago we heard Elon saying all the production tooling is already done, almost done, everything. We're going to ramp up in Q2. So I don't see production being the issue as much as we know that it needs brand new software to do the whole car for the Model S and X.
All right, we're going back to the crash. KC5 GTS asks, how fast did the car need to be going to catch fire like that? That's actually a pretty good question. Yeah. They were 100 yards from where they started. So I guess fast, 0 to... What can they accelerate to in 100 yards?
Yeah, not that fast. That's for sure. But we know that it depends on how you can hit the battery pack, and hitting a tree is weird. It's a strange impact. It's very a lot of pressure in a single spot. So you don't need to be going that fast to get a car on fire.
All right. Stein Inget Don is questioning our commentary on the Model S X production. Can you please inform more about the progress of the refreshed Model S X? Why isn't the delay being commented upon in more detail by you at Electrek?
We're doing it here, responding comments, but we don't have any more information. I would gladly write an article about it if I had any information to share, but there's not much. Yeah, I guess I could try to get more, but there's just
we can speculate all day long, but
I'll make a deal with you. What's his name?
That was Stein Ing Dan.
Okay, Stein Ing Dan. I'll look into it this week. Try to shake some sources and everything. See what I can find out.
Oh, so Peter Ferret says maybe he was using Summon on his phone from the back seat. Maybe a crazy idea. Summon goes how fast? Like 2 miles per hour?
Yeah. Also, if he isn't Summon part of the FSD package, dude, like
that's true.
You wouldn't have it.
Don't think so, Peter. Sorry.
Yeah.
Try again. All right. We got a lot of.
I think that's commenting on the Summon thing.
All right. About the SNX delays as well as the price raises of 3 and Y, how much do you think the chip shortages are delaying production and affecting the cost structure of the cars? Maybe 3 and Y get more expensive. I think he's about to say.
Yeah.
Because the chips get more expensive, protect the margins.
That's definitely a possible theory. Like the theory is solid. I don't know if it's the case though.
All right, we're still in the crash. Maybe the driver simply thought mistakenly that they activated autopilot and then quickly jumped out of the driver's seat. That's possible.
It's possible. That's kind of crazy though, but
I feel like the guy in the passenger seat should have probably, grabbed the wheel or something.
Yeah, but even then,
we're speculating, but
like if autopilot is not on, as like this is a Tesla Model S has decently strong regen too. So as soon as you pull the foot of the gas pedal, like you would have need to be going already super fast in order to hit that tree and not just the car slow down like crazy once he's jumping out of the back seat. So
yeah, they could have had regen off, but
yeah. But like you see, like everyone is like trying to come up with what happened here, like because we really don't know. Like it's one of those things, and like if you take Elon's comment to his word, like okay, like autopilot is not involved, but still, we need to look into the incident anyway because it's definitely strange.
Yeah, it's strange that they're not sharing more info at this point with all the publicity around it. All right, any idea why Tesla is not using LFP, which are the cheaper batteries that don't quite have the same amount of energy density for the Powerwall, which typically speaking doesn't need the energy density that a car does? What are your thoughts? Perhaps because Tesla doesn't make their own LFP batteries? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Tesla has used a bunch of different suppliers for battery cell supplier, that is, for the Powerwall, so including some that do make LFP batteries. But it's a good question, and I think it could happen in the future for sure.
Shane O'Sullivan says Renault Zoe in Europe used to have 43 kilowatt AC onboard charger.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was a 3-phase 480 volt.
Yeah, they have 3-phase. I keep forgetting they have 3-phase.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I'm sure the inverter was probably like half the weight of the car. But current Zoe has 22 kilowatt AC charging, which is very common in Europe. Again, 3-phase.
Yeah, and in Europe, because of the 3-phase, like 22 makes sense, yes. But for American cars, though, it's like so rare that you're gonna see like maybe some like hotels gonna have like a charging station and they can take 19, but it's rare.
All right, Steve Love. It's important to me that a vehicle like the new Lyriq have all-wheel drive and a factory tow package. 300 plus mile ranges is important as well. I think this vehicle will be nice as long as there are no surprise quality issues.
Not that familiar with Cadillac's quality level of quality, so I couldn't tell you. This is their first electric car, so Electrek would just kind of work electric car, so we're gonna have to judge it by it is. But yeah, I at the virtual unveiling, though, they did mention all-wheel drive in the future.
Yeah, and I generally think that Cadillac owners are not people who have like a motorhome behind them. Just generally speaking, they're probably staying at a hotel.
A boat, maybe like a small speed boat.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, go around.
So for me, biggest thing,
not even then. Like you're not gonna like pull down your Cadillac. Like you kind of have to get in the water a little bit to pull the boat out of the. Like you're not gonna do that in the Cadillac. What am I saying?
Yeah, I mean, all-wheel drive is the big one for me. Like that's a safety feature in the winter. It's kind of nice to have. I'm surprised Cadillac. I mean, we know that GM's a little bit weird about all-wheel drive because of the Bolt and the Bolt EUV do not come with all-wheel drive packages. So
Which is insane. The Bolt EUV should definitely have the EV too, maybe. But
agree 100%. It would be super cool too to have a all-wheel drive Bolt. All right, moving on. Now we're going back to charging at 22 kilowatts with the Renault Zoe. In France and some of the rest of Europe, they have those chargers. Me to know that people are blank drivers is a less exciting headline. VW has sold more e-Golf than ID3 in Europe in Q1. Well, they're probably having quite a bit of sales on those because they're trying to clear inventory.
Yeah, they stopped production last year. So if that's the case, it should be the last time that happened.
Yeah. Wonder why VW has gone from hatchback with ID3 to SUV with the ID4, where the traditional saloon-shaped car. The Nuremberg scheme suggests that they are not going to release one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not as popular of a segment anymore.
Especially in the US.
And yeah, you're right. In Europe, I've seen more. Like in Paris, I've seen a ton of sedan.
All right, here's some more. All the ID4 have been purchased by dealers. Okay.
What does that mean?
I don't know. When will we see a Rivian on the road? Well, if you were in Austin, Texas this week, you would have seen one. They had one out and about. They had the pickup truck, actually.
Yeah, some in Michigan too. I mean, we're talking about prototypes. I'm sure that Gary here is talking about actual consumer vehicles.
They're even in Korea.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently, they're saying they're still sticking to the June timeline, and I'm really hoping that they stick to it this time because they would have the first mover advantage really on the pickup market. So it would be exciting. But no indication of a delay right now, and it's getting close. Like we're 2 months away now. So
Peter Ferret says the Toyota has a BYD battery and powertrain. Will Toyota ever do their own electric battery powertrain?
Did they say that about the BZ4Z XZD or?
I don't remember. Yeah. Honestly, it's there's no specs. Then what's the point?
Yeah.
Toyota does not believe in BEVs. Well, that certainly seems to be the case. They will present model hatch in early 2022. I'm not sure the context there. The Berlin Design Studio.
Yeah. He's talking about the Model 2 probably from Tesla, the 25,000. Like, do you think it's going to be a small hatch?
I would love if Tesla made a Chevy Bolt size.
I think that's what the $25,000 model is going to be. I just think it's going to kill the Model 3 though, because like that was the big thing about the Model 3. Like, hey, we want a hatch on it, and then it would need to be much smaller than the Model 3 to not kill
and cheaper. Yeah. With the Cadillac having such a large onboard charger, do you think they're thinking the vehicle to grid? Just because it has a large onboard charger doesn't necessarily mean that you can output that much more. Usually it's the DC that's the output. Renault Zoe onboard 22 kilowatt AC charger runs incoming power through the electric motor. Oh yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. So it uses the inverter of the motor inductor, saving all the weight. It's patented and only used by Renault and now Nissan.
Do the Tesla thing, Renault, and open that up, because that is smart as hell, and I would like to see it in more cars.
Yeah. Early Model S 22 AC charger was actually 3 separate single-phase chargers.
Not 2? I think it was 2.
Kilowatt AC charger. Yeah, I think it was just 2. Anyway, that's the last comment. So,
all right. Well, thanks everyone for listening and watching the podcast this week. That was a fun episode. We had a ton of stuff to discuss. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, make sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening on your podcast app, you can subscribe to download the new episode whenever it comes out. And we had a bunch of nice reviews this week, or last week, I should say. So we always appreciate those. If you can send us a 5-star review, that helps the show a lot. And we appreciate it a lot. And thanks again. I hope to see you next week.